Post a pen test, we often get asked by customers, what do I need to fix? I think there's a big challenge for many organisations which we have empathy for, which is that you've got a finite amount of time, right? So you can't spend all of your efforts trying to patch all these issues. You have to move on and start developing new features and functionality. So getting the balance right is crucial. You need to make sure you really understand the risks of those vulnerabilities in order to make a decision on which ones you want to prioritise. And we see in so many occasions, organisations will do a retest and there'll still be issues there. I mean, they may not be all the criticals and the highs. Most organisations will focus on the criticals and highs and then make a risk-based decision to say the others will fix over time. There are scenarios, of course, where you can't fix stuff. You either have to come up with a compensating control, so a way in which to protect yourself from those things, normally going over and above what it takes to just patch it, fix it in the first place. The reasons why you might do it is because you just can't. You could be using legacy software, legacy systems that you just can't get rid of right now, and you just need to be able to patch it by doing something different. So that could include adding additional security controls, security technologies, firewalls, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, application firewalls, all those sorts of things in front of a vulnerable application or a vulnerable piece of network infrastructure can mitigate your risks significantly. How do I often think about it? Well, what we've seen actually, there's been some statistics out there from other research firms that suggest that actually the critical vulnerabilities, we don't see as many of them anymore. If you go back and research all the vulnerabilities from previous years, it seems like they're in decline. So that pushes the attackers to go in two different directions really. Number one is to leverage more of the medium and low vulnerabilities, which we see all the time as well. Like sometimes you really need to, as a penetration tester, be able to, or an attacker as well, right? Be able to exploit those medium and low vulnerabilities to understand how to benefit and to be able to actively exploit the criticals. Like sometimes you need knowledge that you can only get from a low and a medium vulnerability in order to exploit those critical vulnerabilities. Things like what are the assets that sit within the environment. Sometimes a medium vulnerability might expose that information, normally called information disclosure vulnerabilities. They can be very beneficial because you know what's sometimes at the other end of the system you're exploiting, and sometimes you need that when you're exploiting those critical application issues or critical network infrastructure issues. So what would I say is the best approach to dealing with this, and what would I be thinking if I was on the other end of the table as opposed to being the guys normally that find these vulnerabilities? I'd be thinking, can we mitigate the critical vulnerabilities or fix them, of course, as quickly as possible? That's our priority, fix those. I would always suggest doing a retest and also regular testing. The main reason being is sometimes you can unpick those fixes you've put in place in your applications that then goes on to expose those. We've seen recent articles that suggest that people have managed to exploit vulnerabilities from way back in the day because even the best organizations, larger organizations like Microsoft, have unpicked the fixes they've put in place for those vulnerabilities, and then they're suddenly back again, they're exposed again. So just make sure you're doing regular testing, make sure you fix those critical ones as a priority. Of course, you can always look to just fix those mediums and those at a later stage, but it is a big risk, and whether you can stomach that risk is something that you need to decide as a business, and it will really come down to what is it that you're trying to protect.